Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Well, apparently, Gennady Golovkin versus Jaime Munguia is possible for the fall. Gennady Golovkin versus Jaime Munguia is a possible fight to take place in the fall if Saul Canelo Alvarez steps up to 175 to challenge WBO champion Sergey Kovalev, according to Mike Kopinger at The Athletic Box. Essentially, Golovkin's fight with Munguia hinges on Canelo's fight with Sergey Kovalev happening. Therein, however, lies a dilemma, because at least right now, Sergey Kovalev versus Anthony Yarde is set for August 24th in Russia, according to Bob Arum. However, he claims that if Canelo versus Kovalev is made, then a deal has been agreed to pay Yarde step-aside money and have him fight Gilberto Ramirez while he waits. Now, that's a hell of a proposition when you put it all together. That, you know, you get a Yarde fight against a Ramirez, and I think that's a good fight, in all honesty, I really do, because Gilberto Ramirez has a lot to prove at 175, and in many ways, so does Anthony Yarde. This guy really is untested on the world stage, at the world level. And a fight between himself and a world champion from a lower weight class, it's an intriguing proposition. Back to the point at hand. You know, Canelo versus Kovalev.
That fight.
This fight is creating many ripples throughout many weight classes in the sport of boxing. Canelo potentially making this monumental jump to the light heavyweight division to attempt to challenge Sergey for his world title and try to become a 4-division champion. This is having a very big effect on, you know, in many ways throughout many weight classes. So the first angle of this thing that I want to talk about, the first angle, is Gennady Golovkin's angle. Him potentially squaring off against Jaime Munguia. Let me tell you something, okay? I didn't give Gennady Golovkin any shit for the Steve Rolls fight. I didn't give him any shit for that. I viewed that as a keep busy fight, a tune-up fight, because Gennady Golovkin hadn't had a fight since the Canelo Alvarez rematch. Whereas Canelo, he had fought 2 times thereafter. Gennady Golovkin hadn't fought at all. And, you know, he's an older guy, so, you know, him having a lighter touch, him taking one, you know, a little tune-up fight, I didn't complain. I knew what it was for. I knew what it was about. But the idea that his very next fight could be against Jaime Munguia, of all people, at a time when the WBO middleweight champion is calling you out, at a time when the WBC champion is calling you out, needless to say, I think it's a bit tactless, I think it's a bit tacky, and it shows,
Cherry picking.
you know, that, you know,
I
mean, in all seriousness, Jaime Munguia has proven absolutely nothing as a middleweight because he has yet to campaign there. Better still, he has things to prove as a junior middleweight that he still hasn't proven. You know, he hasn't squared off against the best and the brightest guys in the junior middleweight division. He hasn't.
Nope.
That's not a knock on him. You understand? I think he deserves that chance to prove himself against those fighters. But better still, it's something that he hasn't done yet. So the idea that his very next fight could be against Gennady Golovkin, of all people, at middleweight, I don't like the idea of that.
It's a cherry pick.
I don't like it, and I don't like how it reads. Gennady Golovkin, for all intents and purposes, is still campaigning as a middleweight. He doesn't appear to be going anywhere. He doesn't appear to be moving up to 168, much less 175, like Canelo is. You see, Canelo not fighting an Andrade, Canelo not fighting a Charlo, it can be explained by him moving up. The names that are in the hat are guys that aren't in that weight class. Callum Smith at 168 and Sergey Kovalev at 175. Whereas in the case of Gennady Golovkin, he does appear to be still campaigning as a middleweight. So if you're still campaigning as a middleweight, you don't have that excuse. There are world champions in your weight class that want a piece of you, and who are you looking at? Jaime Munguia?
Give me a break.
Don't give me the politics of boxing stuff, okay? Don't give me the politics of boxing as an excuse for him to look at a junior middleweight. Because while Jermall Charlo may not be on Golovkin's side of the street, Demetrius Andrade is. He's on the same side of the street as Gennady Golovkin, and he wants that fight, so why doesn't Golovkin want that fight? Demetrius Andrade has a world title for Gennady Golovkin to win, whereas if he squares off against Jaime Munguia, what are you winning out of that fight?
Nothing.
What do you get out of fighting that guy?
Nothing.
What has he proven at 160 pounds?
Nothing.
Still got shit to prove at 154, much less 160.
Doesn't he?
You got people out there who saw Jermall Charlo in action this weekend, who saw Demetrius Andrade in action this weekend. You got these people out there. They'll tell you they're not impressed with what they saw.
Okay.
They don't think that those guys can beat Gennady Golovkin. You have those people, and they're entitled to those opinions. They're entitled to make their observations and relegate their anecdotes. They're entitled. But when you say these things, and you simultaneously watch Gennady Golovkin, who's still campaigning as a middleweight, when you watch him targeting a junior middleweight instead of those guys, doesn't that raise a question?
Don't it?
Doesn't that, aren't you asking yourself, if you think he can beat those guys, then why doesn't he? He stands to gain more from beating an Andrade than he does from beating a Munguia. Munguia's not a champion at 160 pounds. Andrade is. Munguia's not a champion at 160 pounds. Charlo is. You say the politics of boxing prevent a Charlo fight? Okay, well, the politics of boxing don't prevent an Andrade fight. So once again, why is the story Golovkin versus Munguia instead of Golovkin versus Andrade? Tell you the truth, you gotta stop making excuses for this guy. We know what he really wants. We know what and who he really wants. He wants that Canelo rubber match. But if Canelo's not gonna give you the time of day right away, you've got to keep busy with someone else. And keeping busy with someone else is not a pass, is not a green light for you to bring up guys from 154 when there are perfectly good fights and good fighters, good champions at 160. Golovkin, his fight with Steve Rolls, that took place not too long ago. He's got no engagements. He's got no commitments to any sanctioning body that he has to fulfill that would prevent him from fighting an Andrade or a Charlo. And the same applies to them. Charlo, Andrade, they were in action this past weekend, They don't have any engagements thereafter. They don't have any commitments, any obligations that would hinder a Golovkin fight. So the question then becomes, what's it going to take for Golovkin to fight one of these guys? What's it going to take? Because he's not doing what Canelo's doing. If he were doing that, then we could say, well, Golovkin's not looking at those guys because he's looking to move up. He's not doing that. He's still campaigning as a middleweight. So why is a guy who's perceived by so many as being the #1 guy at middleweight, or close to it, why is a guy who's perceived as being the best, if not one of the best middleweights in the world, looking at a fucking junior middleweight when there are world champions right there that want a piece of him? You can't berate those guys for wanting to fight Gennady Golovkin and simultaneously give Golovkin a pass to avoid them. You really can't make excuses for this guy. Not for this. He can't. You can't give him a pass for this one. There's no other way to explain it other than cherry picking. It's a cherry pick. You rather fight a champion from 154 who still has a lot to prove there than a guy at 160 who has a lot to prove there. There may be a lot of people that want to say this and that about Andrade and want to say this and that about Charlo, but what they're not saying is that Golovkin should fight him. But, by all rights, yeah, Golovkin should fight them. He should be fighting one of them. You can't fight Charlo because of the politics of boxing. Guess what? The politics of boxing wouldn't stop an Andrade fight. You're both on the same side of the street. You fight on the same platform. You should be looking at one of them. And it's not hard to put together why a Munguia fight is a more attractive fight to Golovkin than an Andrade fight. Out of those two guys, which one of those two guys shut out their last opponent?
Andrade.
And out of those two guys, which one arguably lost to their last opponent?
Munguia.
Do you have any idea how many people were hitting me up after that Dennis Hogan fight?
How'd you score it?
Asking me how I scored the fight because they felt that Dennis Hogan had done enough to win in that Jaime Munguia fight. Do you remember that? He didn't look good in that fight. So you'd rather fight a champion who didn't look good in his last fight, who campaigns at a lower weight class, than fight a world champion in your own? They're both undefeated, but you seem to be looking at the guy from 54 instead of the guy at 60. Why is that? Is it because the guy at 54, he's really not a hit and not get hit kind of guy? Is that why? Is it because he's an easier target?
No defense.
Is it because, he's not a 2-division champion the way that Demetrius Andrade is a 2-division champion? Is it because of that? Is it because, Jaime Munguia, he's basically going to stand right in front of you and let his fists fly. That's what he's going to do. Jaime Munguia, God bless him, he's not the most elusive fighter. Defense is not one of his strong suits. You think that has anything to do with why we're hearing about Golovkin versus Munguia instead of Golovkin versus Andrade? Ladies and gentlemen, you can't give him a pass. Not for this one. You simply cannot give him a pass. All these guys' schedules are free. Golovkin was in action not that long ago. Andrade was in action not that long ago. Charlo was in action not that long ago. You say this and that about fighters like Demetrius Andrade, like Jermall Charlo. What's missing from their resumes? You say these things, but you don't put any pressure on Golovkin to burst these hype jobs. You think they're hype jobs, right? You don't think these guys are very good. Then why aren't you demanding that Golovkin prove that they're not very good? Why would you be okay with him looking at a guy from 154 instead of two guys at 160? You think he's one of the best guys at 160, right? So you should be demanding that he beat the guys at 160, not some kid from 154. Bottom line, I'm not okay with this suggestion that instead of fighting middleweights, Golovkin's gonna keep busy with a guy from 154. I'm not okay with it. I don't know if you are, but I'm not. We then move on to the proposition that the former WBO super middleweight champion Zurdo Ramirez could be squaring off against Anthony Yarde. Now, Anthony Yarde, this is not a proven fighter at the weight. Let's get that right out of the way. I mean, the kid does look like he could have a bright future, but as it stands, those eggs need more bacon. Because Anthony Yarde, for all he's shown already, he has yet to fight a guy the likes of an Isaac Chilemba. He has yet to fight a guy the likes of a Sullivan Barrera. He has yet to fight, guys like that who really have a lot of experience at the weight. So in many ways, Anthony Yarde shows promise, but he's unproven. Now, Zurdo Ramirez, he has competed at the championship level for some years, but not in this weight class. He's competed at the championship level at 168 pounds, and he's already popped his cherry at 175 against Tommy Karpency. That's where he's campaigning. That's where he's going to be from here on out. So essentially, in this fight, what we have are two guys who are not proven at the weight. Thus, they would both be competing on an even playing field. I'll say that perhaps this is a more attractive fight for Anthony Yarde and his handlers than the Sergey Kovalev fight might be. It being that, Sergey Kovalev, he's got all the amateur experience that Anthony doesn't have, and he has all the professional experience that Anthony doesn't have. You get me? This guy's proven at the weight. For Anthony Yarde, the step up in competition would be one hell of a step. I mean, fuck a step, it's a goddamn leap. It's a goddamn leap for Anthony Yarde to square off with a guy like Sergey Kovalev. But at least with Zurdo, what they've got working for them is that Zurdo is a newbie to the weight. We don't know much about this guy's punch resistance at this weight because all you've done here is fight a journeyman in Tommy Karpency. Zurdo Ramirez, he's a bit greedy with his combinations. I said that back when he was still down there at super middleweight, that, this guy, he's a solid fighter, packs a decent-sized punch. I don't think he's the most concussive puncher at the weight, or I didn't when he was down there. And he does appear to be a bit greedy with his combinations. That's saying that he'll string together several punches in succession, but he'll still be there after the combination is over, lining him up for something to come back at him. You put that together and you think about it, that Anthony Yarde, maybe he's not the most skilled or the most experienced, but he is a full-fledged light heavyweight. So what happens to Zurdo Ramirez if he strings together a combination, and he's still standing there admiring his work, and something from Anthony Yarde comes at him? You know anything about Zurdo, you've seen him in action before, and you followed his career, then you will know that Zurdo's a solid guy, but he's not a hit and not get hit kind of guy. Being elusive, that's not necessarily his area of expertise, and he's not an outside fighter. He's not the kind of guy that gets full extension on his jab and works behind that jab to keep his opponent at bay. That's not the kind of fighter that he is. The kind of fighter that he is the fighter that fights mid-range to inside and is prone to getting into exchanges. You think about a style like that against a full-fledged light heavyweight, even an unproven light heavyweight, it still poses intriguing scenarios, okay? Essentially what I'm getting at is the Zurdo Ramirez versus Anthony Yarde fight. If that fight were to come off, there is a genuine amount of intrigue, a genuine amount of suspense, and perhaps, perhaps even, maybe it could be more competitive than the Kovalev fight, because Zurdo's not proven at the weight, and you know what? Anthony Yarde isn't either. So it's a genuine opportunity for both guys to pick up a quality scalp and actually prove something. Whereas, in the case of Anthony Yarde and Sergey Kovalev, maybe Yarde could upset him. We don't know. We'd have to see it to believe it, because what we've seen so far from Yarde isn't a hell of a lot. Not at the weight. So I like the idea of that Zurdo Ramirez versus Anthony Yarde fight. I don't know if I should hold my breath to see it, but I certainly like the idea of it. We then come to what is in many ways the centerpiece of the discussion. The catalyst that would set forth all these other events in motion. We're talking about the Canelo Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev fight. Presumably at 175 pounds. You think about this fight, the effect it could have. But you've also got to think of what some of these reports, one in particular, is suggesting. That, they are trying to iron out details for this fight, but, Mike Kopinger is stating that Bob Arum is stating, Bob Arum via Mike Kopinger. Whatever. The report itself suggests that right now, Canelo Alvarez is experiencing some knee issues, okay? And that could, have an effect on when that Kovalev fight takes place. Now, I don't know how Bob Arum came across that information, because I would think, that kind of information would be kept under wraps from the people over there at Golden Boy. I don't think that everybody, I don't think they'd want everybody knowing that Canelo Alvarez is experiencing some kind of an issue with his knees. And we do know that Canelo Alvarez, leading up to what was the Golovkin rematch, Canelo Alvarez actually was, he was having an issue with his knee, and he had surgery on that knee. We fast forward, how's Canelo been looking? And, in spite of beating Daniel Jacobs, he was seen with a sleeve over his knee, one of them. So that suggestion, there may actually be something to that. And you think about that, at a time where this guy's knee, it might be acting up, something might be wrong, he might need some medical attention of some kind. Would that really be the time that he decides to make his maiden voyage into the light heavyweight division against Sergey Kovalev? I mean, look, I like the proposition of the fight. It's ballsy, it's gutsy, it's intriguing. Canelo Alvarez has reached a point where many people feel that you can't win a decision against this guy. You've got to knock him the fuck out.
It's the only chance.
It's the only way you're going to win. And a guy who packs a big enough punch, the right size punch for the job, it would be a Sergey Kovalev. That adds to the intrigue of that fight. So in that way, I like that fight. But better still, me liking that fight, wanting to see it, it's a good fight. It's a better fight than anything at 160. It really is. But in spite of that, if Canelo Alvarez is experiencing some kind of issue with his knees at this point in the juncture, how long would it take for him to recuperate? Well, one, what's he going to do about it? How long would it take him to recover from, a potential knee surgery or something like that? How long would it take him to recover? And, how long would it take for that Kovalev fight to come off? Essentially, do you go up to 175, experimenting, playing around with the guys that are up there when you're having knee issues? The logical answer would be no. So maybe, many of these propositions are a bit premature. Maybe people are jumping the gun because none of this is set in stone. But I'll tell you, if this guy's got some issue with his knees or something's going on with one of them or both of them, if something's going on, I don't think now would be the time to go up there playing with the big boys at 175. Not if your knees ain't acting right. Just one man's opinion. So, while Canelo Alvarez going up there and fighting Sergey Kovalev could have an effect that reverberates through both the light heavyweight and middleweight divisions. While it could affect what's happening in what sequence in those weight classes, it's not set in stone that that's what's going to happen. I mean, there are a lot of reports circulating about it, but nothing is really set in stone. So I'd say that while some of this news is better than others, don't have too much stock in it.
Because the news is fluid and could change at any minute.